the positive and negative impacts models have in fashion and advertisements. And so a little bit of background on models is that they are typically 16 to 21 years old. Most are between 5'9" to 6 feet, and they weigh between 90 to 120 pounds. And that is way underweight for how tall they really are. And then many agencies and castings have set height and weight requirements. And models are thinner than 98% of American women. And as you can see in that picture, they're like all bone and that's from a fashion show in New York a few years ago. And so the negative effects modeling can have on the models is that they are required to sign, or they are required to have certain requirements when signing with an agency. And they always are being told how they need to look and what they need to have to meet the requirements. And most agencies only want to hire very skinny models because it's easier to design clothes for them since they don't have a lot of work to work with. And they can develop depression and eating disorders from always being told how they need to look. And designers usually showcase clothing on skinny models. They have very low self-confidence, and the photographer will Photoshop their bodies, making them feel like they aren't good enough. And so this is a video made by Vogue, which is a very popular fashion magazine. And this is coming from the model's perspective.
When I started modeling, I was like a 38 hip, which is like a lot bigger than what I am now. I'm like a 35 now, which is not like huge, but in modeling it's like huge.
I'm a model.
I'm a model.
I'm a model.
I'm a model. A couple weeks before my first season started, my ex-boyfriend and I got in a giant fight. I kind of went to this like really low place where I just like couldn't eat, just kind of lost like a lot of weight from that. And then when I went to my agency and I took digitals, I got all these options. Was when I was like the sickest I've ever been.
I went to meet with the agency and they measured me and they told me that I needed to lose, I think it was like 2 inches off my hips and maybe 2 off my waist. I was a perfectionist. So I associated doing a good job with modeling with losing the weight. So I did. And it started out as just being more mindful, I guess. And then it did escalate and escalate and escalate. My lowest weight was 98 pounds when I was 17. And that was after I had just done a very successful season in Paris.
There was one casting in London. I was 17. I remember walking into the room full of people and the designer gave me this bodysuit to put on. There was no changing room. She made me just get naked. And she took one look at my body and kind of snickered and laughed, said, "That's not gonna work." And then walked out of the room, left me there naked to put back on my clothes in a room full of people.
When you're 15, you already have all this pressure all over, you know? And to have everybody watch you grow up and just judge you and all that kind of...
Okay, so that's just coming from the model's perspective and how they are also affected by body image and what can happen to them when they're being told that they aren't skinny enough. And body image is defined as how a person sees themselves compared to the standards of society. And we are always faced with advertisements in magazines every day, which feature very skinny models. And only 5% of women have the body type portrayed in today's advertising. And 68% of young women found that models in magazines influence what they think the perfect body type should look like. And models are often perceived as perfect and are looked up to by many young women and teens. And teens will go to unhealthy lengths to have the same body type as models. And in this picture, this is a teen fashion magazine. And down here it says, "Get an insane body, it's hard but you'll look hot." So that just kind of shows how magazines portray body image. And the University of New Chatel did a study where researchers went to Nicaragua and took a group of 80 men and women who hadn't grown up with any advertisements or magazines. And they were all asked to create their ideal body image. And they split them up into two groups where one was given images of very skinny models who were size 2 to 14, and the other was given images of models between the sizes 14 and 26. And they each looked at the images for 15 minutes and were then asked to create their ideal body image again. And the half with the skinny image created a very slim body type, and the half with the larger images created a larger body type. And so these are just three of the very popular fashion magazines, and as you can see, all of the models are very skinny and are portrayed in that way. And then this is just a little cartoon, and it says you can't keep comparing yourself to those skinny little aliens you see in movies. He's like crying about it, and so he just is not confident in his body. And then the positives of modeling is that you're able to make a good career out of it, and you can be very successful. And they can have housing paid for, and they can be flown out to different cities for different shoots or fashion shows. And there's many models and designers who are trying to fix the body image problem. And a lot of fashion shows have banned super skinny models. And in this picture right there, it shows a fashion model from Paris who was banned since she was way too skinny. And then they can show how being tall is a good thing because a lot of teens are self-conscious about that. And plus-size models have also started appearing more and more in fashion shows, magazines, and advertisements. And this makes teens feel like they don't need to obtain a certain body type. And it helps solve the problem of negative body image. And Florida State University did a study where women reported the greatest body satisfaction and least amount of social comparisons when viewing plus-size models, but body satisfaction decreased and social comparisons increased when viewing average-size models. And my thoughts is that I believe models have a large impact on body image, but I also think it's important to know that they suffer from those same things as well. And they are forced to obtain a certain body image in order to keep the jobs that they're wanting to have. And I definitely think the negatives outweigh the positives. So I think that body image is affecting teens way more than it is affecting models. And in conclusion, I think it is important for teens not to think of models as the ideal standard of beauty. And I believe by adding more diverse body sizes for models and advertisements, teens will be able to focus on the positives of their body rather than the negatives. And then here's my work set.
Questions?
So, like, what types of lengths do teens go to try to get the same body type that they see models?
So a lot of them will develop eating disorders like anorexia because they see those images and they want to slim down, and that's one of the easiest ways they can slim down to a perfect body type. Yeah.
I had a similar experience, looking at guys' body types, and sometimes I wouldn't eat for a whole day because I was so obsessed with them for that.
Yeah, a lot of people do obsess over those images. Yes.
Is inclusion of both genders and plus size modeling, how is that? Is there more women than men?
Yeah, so there's more women just because there's more women fashion magazines, and so they mostly focus on that. But there's also men that are trying to do this as well.
Are there certain requirements plus size models have to meet?
Not that I found, just because they're the ones trying to increase body positivity, so they don't have any certain requirements that they're set to.
Cool, thank you.